Order. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Watts to give the invocation.
Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just give you all the praise and thanks for forgiving us of our sins, Father, and being with us, blessing us each and every day. Father, we ask that your hand be with us, be with this country. Remove this virus from our land, Father. We just ask that you lift us up, let us progress, Father, move forward and away from this trouble. Father, we thank you for all of this county family and all those that go above and beyond to keep us safe and keep us from harm's way. Father, we'd ask that you be with each and every one of them and continue to keep them safe. Father, be with those that are sick among us. Touch them and heal them, Father, that only you can do. All of these things we ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
This time I'd ask if there's any public comment from anyone in the audience. We're at the consent agenda, and there were a couple items I understood there. Want to ask some questions about?
I have a couple.
All right. Go ahead.
I'd like to just note item 12 and 13. I was fixing to employ Faith Enterprises to help me do some tree trimming, but we are right at, if not, this right here may exceed our $50,000 limit. So if anybody else wants to do that, they need to go out to bid. So I just need to find other people that do that. It's okay that they bid
Let's
this.
go out to bid.
Let's do that, because I need them.
Yeah, I do too.
So can we go out to bid for 6 months like we do on the road materials?
I don't know where you couldn't do that. You specified the period, bid it. You know, we've had a lot of our work done in the past by Dino's, and say the contractor's courthouse.
Yeah, he's the one, Faith Enterprises. We need 3, right?
Well, we solicit, and you would like to get at least 3 back, but
Okay.
a no bid from someone is the same.
Okay. Do y'all know of other,
Well, we ought to, while we're doing it, just for the sake of knowing, the Encore contractors, you know, that group Ashplund sold to
Yep, Ashplund.
who? That's a new group, and they've got green and white. They eventually changed the name to, like,
but those would be good people to quote because they have their own
we'd
equipment.
like to know kind of what the, and
Yeah.
I was on, so I came down from Burnett Park at the River Bridge on 367, and there were 2 trucks working for a contractor for the state of Texas cleaning off non-highline fence rows that were encroaching the easement. And those guys only had a marker a mile up and a mile back. Well, you didn't even see the marker and you forgot it. And they had their pickups back down in the ditch, kind of nosed out onto the road. Thought this is as dangerous as can be. But
Not a proper sign protocol.
not a proper sign protocol at all. But the Encore group would be good to know how they
Yeah.
value themselves against what we use.
Yeah. Second thing, Judge, is on item number 17. In our conference call with Bob, we talked about if this is going to be a not split up by precinct, but by road. When are we going to sit down and put our road priorities together and decide whose road comes first and, you know, all that? When are we going to do that?
We were supposed to have had that ready last Friday.
Well, I think we all had our individual roads ready, but we didn't, you know, they all got to go in one hat,
But
and who goes first?
But I thought we were still going to split them. Barry's got a priority, you got a priority, Mark and me, and we do them 4 roads, we just buy collectively.
It'd be Judge, if I could,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Beecham and I discussed that a little bit Friday. And when we talked to Bob, he told us kind of how this works, how we need to do it. And since the accounting on this is extremely important, always, I mean, we always, at the end of the deal, and we're
Love you.
scrambling trying to find things. And we talked about, if you've got $250,000 for precinct, why don't we designate our annual chip sealing for the next 2 years to that budget? That way, any oil bill that comes in, it goes to that account. Any road material, when you stockpile gravel or
Right.
what, it goes to that account. And use those funds over the next 2 years to do our normal, and that would probably exhaust it.
Strictly for that.
Strictly.
Yeah.
Every chip seal we do is in that account.
Yeah.
Simplify the whole thing, and that way the auditor's office knows, you get an oil bill, it goes on that. You get a gravel bill, it goes on that, and it's a done deal, and we could do that over the next 2 years, we could do it in a timely fashion and move on about our business.
So our priorities would be the 10 miles of road I had, the 10
Yeah.
you had, the 10 for next year.
Just designate
and
your
then
roads and then go to it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get on that list.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
But
no
if you're
problem.
within that figure, you've roughly got 300,000 apiece.
Right,
Yeah,
So,
we could do at least 2 years,
Yeah.
probably under our normal
that
budget.
with our 20% match, it should get us 8 to 10
yeah.
miles-ish, if you're doing double chip or single chip.
Well, Judge, that'd be a lot cleaner.
And if you wanted to step up this year and do 20, you'd just use your second year's budget up earlier. But then at some point, we put an end to it. That way it's simple.
Yeah,
We know if it's a chip seal deal, it goes on that list. I just think that'd be so much easier to manage.
And cleaner for Curtis when
And
it's
cleaner
all
for
said and
Curtis.
done.
Just remember on that priority list, you have to follow that list from top to bottom. I think he said you could do the
Well,
jobs
it's
simultaneously.
flexible.
Yeah.
We've done this before.
Well, we won't do-
Not according to what I heard.
No, yeah, you can. You just, we'll change that list once a week if we want to, as long as we
you
send
said
it.
that
you gotta have
You have to
approval
submit it.
from them before you execute.
Well, you do that to start, but the way we did it in the past, we redo it every, 30 days or
Yeah.
so? Send it in, they approve it, and we move on.
well, we just pick a
Yeah,
precinct, this, which one goes, we start at precinct 1, I don't care
Yeah.
if precinct 4 goes first, and just whatever our 10
Right.
miles
So the
are.
top 4 priorities would be the 4 different precinct chip seal jobs that year.
Right.
Well,
And
then you
but
can-
we all come together to chip seal. So we
That's
need to do all your roads
Yeah.
together,
Then
and then we'll go do all your roads,
Yeah.
and then we'll go, so that really is a great,
That's-
in my opinion, that's a great suggestion. It's so much cleaner. And
That's-
when we're chip
Without
sealing, we
being
know
jumping
what
all
to
over
bill
the
it to.
place.
Yes.
Curtis, our top 4 priorities would be the 4 precinct roads that we were gonna do.
And-
We get that done,
Right.
then we'll send in a new request.
Right.
We'll set up the next deal. I just think it'd be
And-
so much simpler than what we've
On,
been trying to do.
yeah, I agree. And Curtis, on that note, I'm fielding some questions, for example, rock that comes in inventory. What road does it go to? Well, I can't answer that until we chip seal.
But if
And
every bit of rock you buy goes to that program, you got it covered.
Well, yeah, but I still, the question, to answer him correctly, it'll go on this one, this one, this one, and this one. So if you need to know how much went on there, I can't do it until I do that, till I can actually answer the question.
We have a book
Yeah, we count
that
out
tells
the-
us.
Yeah.
But you can't answer it beforehand.
Yeah, that's how that's how I buy my material. I say, okay, I got 2.5 miles. I go to the book, 2.5 miles, 5/8 chips. It tells me how many tons
Well,
or
I
yards to buy.
could give him that,
Sure.
number, but it doesn't account for the fact me calling you in between, stealing 2 loads from you, and then Curtis's information is no
Well,
longer good.
you can't do that on trying to cover every scenario ever. Point is, when you do put that rock on that road, that's where it's going. Okay? If we do something like that, then
No.
It just makes it
Lee,
way clean.
yes.
Well, Lee, the question is, Glenda's been calling, saying, I see you bought rock in February. Which road does it go on? Well,
No.
Well,
that's the question
Yeah.
I'm telling
But I'm talking
Curtis.
about in this program, it's different.
I think the reason why.
I understand. I'm not talking.
For this specifically right now is because of the individual projects that you've had going on this year with Buffalo Creek and Brogdon Road, I believe is another one. And that's probably why, because we have those separated now, breaking those out by project. So that's probably why she's.
Well-
Because they don't normally do that, I don't think.
No,
not
and
doing that.
I didn't know, but it's kind of like asking the question, I saw you bought 500 gallons of diesel, what equipment does that go in?
Right.
And you can't answer it until after the fact.
Kurt, do we capitalize our road maintenance when we're doing chip seal, or is that just strictly maintenance?
Not normally.
What
We don't
determines
normally-
whether we
don't normally-
capitalize?
It's not normally capitalized.
No, it's a
Just maintenance?
maintenance expense. I just think we could sit down and start that list, and we're gonna have to modify it you're going to anyway.
Well, absolutely.
You're gonna change it as you go along. And we have a very good working relationship with the guys that are gonna sign off on it, our local engineers.
I was on the phone this morning with David Romer,
I don't
great
think
guy.
we're gonna have a problem at all, and we can explain to them up front what we're doing. I think
Yeah.
it'd make it simpler for them.
Yes.
Well, but you'll have estimates of the roads.
Well, sure,
Say you've
yeah.
got 5 roads you're
Yeah.
gonna use, and you know you're gonna need, you know,
Your first submission is an estimate.
right, but
and
you
then
can
from
haul
there-
rock it. Let's say on each road, you know you're gonna need, let's say,
Yeah.
200 tons of rock.
Yeah.
Okay, for the road number 1, the first, 8 loads hauled in, that's what
That's
goes on the
right.
bid.
That's right.
For the next road, it's not, and then you just keep them, so you've got them all in there. Then, you wanna take them back out and count for taking them out.
That's right.
But you're gonna do it by yards, because you're not weighing them.
Yeah, I just think it's a doable deal, and then any material you buy that does not go for chip sealing, that's what you'll have to know,
Yeah.
that did not go in that stockpile. I just think it's a lot cleaner and a lot simpler, and like Lee says, we all run together when we chip seal, so it just makes, that's just my thought, I think it's a lot
So I
simpler.
think that's a
Yeah,
good
I
idea, then
think
you're narrowing it down to two pieces of material to track it with.
That way,
So do we also get to charge our fuel
Sure.
for our 20%? Can we charge our fuel and our labor?
you'll track that and add it in.
Yeah, labor and fuel, yeah.
Yeah. So just to give you a rule of thumb, 2 layers of 5/8 rock, there's 336 tons per mile. 336 tons per mile.
You don't get to charge the fuel if you're charging the FEMA rates though on equipment, because that's in the.
That's true,
it's
that's
in
true.
so
Yeah, charge the FEMA
One
rate.
or the other,
It's easier to do the FEMA rate.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just do the hourly rates
FEMA
and,
chart, it's so much
Yeah.
simpler.
And
It's
the
a
other
good
thing
number.
you've gotta
It's a good
have in
number.
there, there's one person that's gonna be the person signing off on all that.
Well, Barry did it last time. Barry,
Barry's got an MBA.
I think
Works for me.
all in favor?
All in favor? Love you, Barry.
you guys, well, we can do it, I just think we can start with that, our first priority, I think we
Well-
can estimate, and as far as that goes, we can estimate equipment hours and everything, we can get a ballpark.
and
figure.
Barry, Debbie can help you with the
Yeah,
spreadsheet if you
and I
want.
would- Yeah, I need her to organize it, and I just think it'd be simpler for Nancy, who last time, I assume, will do our.
Keep
our
legwork.
Sheets, I just think it's
The
simpler,
lunch that Allison Bass will do for you.
and that's fine.
They're gonna do your submittals, you gotta get them the stuff, then they'll do your submittals.
Anyway, we talked, Martin and I talked about it Friday, and I just think it's a simpler way to do it. It's something we're gonna do anyway.
Oh, yeah,
And
for sure.
it goes to the right project, which this is supposed to be, deteriorating road upgrades, and that's what it is. So I think it meets all the criteria, and I just think,
Next Monday's agenda, that we need to have an item designating those roads, that
Okay.
approve the program, designating you as the,
Comptroller.
comptroller.
we can do that. I'll check them off and.
The comptrolling commissioner.
Yes.
Verify them all and pass them on to Debbie, and she can put them on the sheet. That'll be we'll come up with a form.
Yep.
And we'll try to make it as simple as we can.
And-
Simple people.
On item 16, I just wondered if that was a diesel pickup. Is it?
I didn't think those for that.
Or is that, Barry, is that yours?
No, it's mine. We're gonna reject that bid.
Is it too high or?
It's not the pickup I ordered. It's just what they had on the lot.
Oh,
And I went, That's not what I'm, not
Well,
what
I
I
mean,
mean.
it wasn't real high.
That's,
Yeah,
that's pretty good
It's a
number.
pretty good price. Why,
That's not bad.
you wanted something different than that?
yes,
Does the other one include the video system?
no,
No.
no.
What were you wanting differently?
Well, Willie told me that this truck right here is,
Blue?
help me, Willie, no, it's white. But it's not the truck that I'd ordered, or not the, I spec'd it out, what I wanted, and it's nowhere near. Lots of stuff. Like, if I had the damn list in front of me, I could go over, what do you care?
Oh, I just wondered what the cost for a diesel pickup was. That's what I was wondering. It didn't say whether it's a gas or a diesel, and I just thought it was a good price for a diesel pickup.
It says, doesn't say it, but what we asked for was a diesel.
Yeah. That
It doesn't say that.
Oh.
But anyway, and we're, in precinct three's got one in the works too, but
Well, as soon as the buy board comes back on, we're gonna resubmit.
when is the buy board coming back? Is that-
Well, I think the 18th. We're just gonna resubmit this to the buy board guys and let them give it to us.
'Cause I've been telling Jerry for a month, I turned that over to Willie, so.
Well, Willie, if I gave you some specifics on those contractors, would you mind putting that RFP together for us on that proposal?
Sure.
Okay. I'll get some other names, and guys, if y'all see somebody, jot that name down and phone number.
I didn't think about those as Lonnie.
I thought it, yeah, but I think it's Wilson now, Lee, that's in my mind, they changed their name. The Wilson Company bought that ash plant.
Not Chad Wilson, is it?
No, it's an out-of-town company, but it's green and white.
Okay.
You go loud, they lived on much richer hogs than us.
Mm-hmm.
You might know what your high bid's gonna be, I'm just saying. But there are plenty of local, tree cutters around.
Judge, I have a couple of questions or
Yes, sir.
concerns as well. Number 11, I believe we talked about this on Friday. We're gonna fund that from capital expenditures instead of supply and operations. Is that correct, Mr. Moore?
Oh, that's on that sweep. What did we decide, Kurt?
I believe we decided to fund it from capital expenditures.
Yeah, and that's where it should
You got a value other than not late.
Dial 9?
be. We're gonna
They
make
said dial 9 and
some improvements to that thing and up, you know, we're gonna
the
recondition.
left hand, top left hand receiver
We
looking.
can add that to the,
We probably
What's
do.
that?
set up our
Where's the number on
Maybe,
it?
it may be $1,000
Nine,
or something.
I don't know what it is on there.
just add it to.
766.
Okay, so we need to make note of that
8104.
when we do those.
Yes.
Make sure it goes with new set of brushes and upgrade it.
The other item was number 7.
Really?
George?
I love technology.
Yeah. Let me get my pliers and we'll fix that.
104?
Yeah.
Okay, go back to that, number 7.
Number 7, we've got that currently being funded from general fund contingencies. We've got a little over $77,000 in budget in line 409-4119, which is attorney fee outside legal services.
Yeah.
Would y'all possibly rather fund that from that line instead? We've paid items such as this before out of that line.
Yeah, no, that's,
That would save some of the general fund contingency as well.
But that's in 409?
Yeah, 100-409-4119 is the line number, attorney fees, outside legal services.
Curtis, on that note, before you leave, could you look at a report in now that Odyssey is up and generating some items, the JP breakdown of fees? I have a question on some of those codes are not reading right to me. And for example, I showed a payment to Purdue, Brandon, and Fielder out of that line that I can't see where the cost is broke out. For example, Curtis comes in and pays $100. 50 of it may be penalty. That should go to them, but there's no way to determine that off the report. Would you take the report, we should have the information done, or I'll make you a copy of it, and help me after you understand it? But some GL lines are carrying 12 codes, some are carrying 8. And I'm thinking, why would in a bank of Texas Parks and Wildlife fines, there be a number with 11 digits and a number with 8 digits as a code?
Sure.
Okay.
And it may be that Matt Davis is the one that's been researching all that. So
Okay.
may have to get with him.
And Lori, on that note, I also see adjustments in those lines. If Nancy came in to pay you and she wanted to pay $300, the girl made the transaction, and then Nancy digs in her purse and finds out she's got $250. How do you adjust that $50 off of there? Is it
They probably just canceled the transaction and.
altogether?
Yeah, redo it.
But how do I know then in the system there's not an adjustment for $300 you just canceled?
I don't know, because if we canceled the transaction, the 300 wouldn't be in there.
No, it wouldn't be in there, but so on the second scenario, Nancy comes in and pays $300, you book the money, Nancy leaves, you back out the $300.
But Nancy should have gotten a receipt.
Nancy will have the receipt.
Nancy's got the receipt, but I don't have the receipt.
Okay.
It appears to me that 300,
Well, it would show it shows, I believe, every transaction we do.
that it does show. So what I'm saying is the 300 that you backed out and then you put Nancy in 50 correct, how do I account for the 300? How do I know what just happened in the transaction? So the 300 backed out above it, Nancy had the wrong amount in her pocket. Then underneath it, Nancy paid the same ticket, $250. How is that coded so that,
Are you saying they still owe $50?
I'm just saying an adjustment in the system. I saw adjustments in the report, but I didn't know how to reconcile the adjustment. Because, for example, if we can just back out numbers without documentation, it becomes very dangerous.
For sure.
Let me get an answer. She's not gonna tell you. I'll be honest, I have hardly messed with Odyssey at all. I was not included in a lot of this planning and all that. It's been an app.
I just wondered, well, and she is very talented with it, so
I just texted her and asked her.
okay.
Curtis, going back to number 11, did you all decide to do from Fund 223 General Fund?
Oh, no.
Capital.
23-230-5001. Some of that.
11.
Thank you.
Judge, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda
Second.
with all the changes so far. Okay.
Okay, that was to consent agenda items number 11 and,
7,
so I'm sorry, 7, 11, and, okay, 12, we didn't do anything other than we're gonna, on 12 and 13, we're gonna go out for requests for bids for additional tree trimming, that kind of thing, since we did cap on one vendor.
and then, of course, item 17, we're gonna put on the agenda for next Monday.
no, we're gonna approve the agreement.
Yes,
Then we'll submit the rest of the application materials and designate the
Yep.
person in charge. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay. Motion was by Commissioner Harvey and second by Commissioner Watts. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. All right, item number 1 is to review and approve the regular bills for payment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments on the bills? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss, consider, take action, to authorize county judge and/or commissioner Bishop to sign the final delivery and acceptance certificate from Amoresco Incorporated. Commissioner?
Yes, Judge, all the deliverables we've received, everything is working as it's supposed to now. We do have one concern going into the fall with the boiler, because we found several items late in the cooling season. We have not had a great test with the boiler and during super cold temperatures to make sure that everything was addressed by the 30th District Court. I've talked to the boiler company. They're going to coordinate with us to send somebody down on the startup. As a warranty repair issue, we will have to pay for the travel for that under the service agreement. Other than that, everything is good to go.
Have we done our comparison on our bills? Did we follow through with that?
I have not yet, no.
Isn't that the fundamental
Well,
piece of knowledge that we need to know if they're successful?
That's under the service agreement. I'll have to pull out the entire contract and read through it and see.
Remember how we agreed to go forward?
Yeah, but that's,
We have no start date that we agreed, you know, that it's fully in service. I thought that's when that started, because we had
that's,
a lot of time during their installation where it was either way too cool or
way too hot, yeah. So I believe that start date would be the day, today when you sign the document.
Then we would gather history moving forward.
Moving forward.
Makes sense.
But I'll pull the ESS. Or I'll pull the agreement and make sure that that's exactly how it's spelled out.
Our electric bill was running about $45,000 a month here at the courthouse previously. I'll be curious to know what it is today.
Well, or I'd like to look at some cumulative.
Yep.
Well, I think you gotta look at it like, you know, very recent period forward, because it was having issues.
Sure.
You know, the
Well, I'm
thing,
excited about that because, you know, I believe the city of Wichita Falls did that and it was very successful.
Yeah.
And I believe school systems have done that.
yeah,
And it could be a huge cost savings to the taxpayers.
Yeah.
I see the idea that was, and preside, also provide the appropriate temperature to.
Well, it's just leveling off the comfort levels.
Yeah, it took some time to get everything right. But can
Is
we
yours
not, when
working?
you,
Yours is not working.
You never know what the temperature's gonna be in there from day to day.
but we can adjust it as soon as you tell me.
I mean, you walk out of my office, my double doors, my office and that foyer right there is two different temperatures. You walk to the wheelchair ramp and you walk down the ramp, it's colder down there than it is up on the ramp. You can ask Tracy. I bet her office is freezing. Or is it comfortable today?
Depends on who you ask.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
But,
That's why I walked
Yeah.
around this building 1,000 times with the little thermometer and
But
check
you never
temperature,
know.
so.
so no, I can honestly say that those little white thermostat boxes on the wall do not work, because the air blows in the back, very back there, where Penny and them are, it blows so hard, you can't hear. It blows out of my office so hard, sometimes you can't hear. But I can't shut it off, because then the rest of the office on that side don't get it. So no, I'm not gonna say it works. But
you know what's frustrating for Commissioner Beecham is that he's here today to sign off on a project that he's worked his butt off on, and then we're just now getting, really a complaint. We should have had those complaints, because we can't be, or he can't be everywhere all day, every day. We should have told him.
I have told you.
Yeah.
And I've told Bob. So don't sit there and say I haven't. I have.
Then why would we sign off if they haven't addressed those issues?
'Cause I can go in there right now and it's within the temperature range designated.
What about the air handlers on Penny and Lori's where they're blowing so hard they can't talk on the phone? What she just said, that's not my words.
Well, they're variable speed, and when it ramps up, it does get louder. That's the variable speed drive on those. When it ramps up, when it's out of temperature range, it will get louder.
Which impede carrying on normal conversations, talking on the phone.
I haven't observed it to be that loud. I mean, it is loud. It is loud over Lori's office at times. But I wouldn't say it's so loud you couldn't talk on the phone.
Sometimes it is. It gets very loud.
Well, very similar to when you get in your automobile and it's hot, you first crank it up and it blows full blast if you're on the auto temp deal, and
Then it'll
So
back
it's
off.
down.
And
Is
it's
that-
very,
I mean,
it's
it's the same
basically, yeah,
concept.
when you get variable speed drives on
it's
everything
trying to
now,
recover
it's trying to
quickly and
bring the area up to speed, or up temperature, or down to temperature, whichever the case may be. What's that?
I said, it's whatever. I've lived with it for 30 years. I can live with you more. It's fine. We're good. We'll just rent it here to get going.
I'm just sitting here thinking in my mind how we can divert some of that air to the main part of that room. Because it sounds like to me it's really being force-fed into two small rooms.
it's a
Well,
distribution.
the problem with Lori's office is she's got the main line that runs right through the middle of her office.
The main line runs through her office.
For her whole office suite, so.
Listen, they took the thing out where I couldn't even close off that vent. Used to, I could close my vent off. But somebody went in there and
Well,
took it out.
the dampers are automatic now.
To each office?
All, the dampers throughout the system are all electronically controlled from the computer.
Could we put a manual damper on Penny and Lori's office? It's just a bolt-on deal.
It's fine. We're fine.
That would be defeating the
Yeah.
what we paid for. I mean, that needs to be fixed if that's a problem.
Then they would have to put a damper in the offshoot from the main line into each one of those offices, which would be expensive.
Well, it's not really Penny's office. It's in back there where the tables are, the break room area, or whatever you want to call it.
That's still a small area.
But it's all along that wall, in other words, is what I hear you saying.
Because they did go up and they did shut mine off, and then they realized that shutting mine off there shut off the rest of the
Everything.
office.
Is the noise, the air coming out of the vent or going down the duct?
It's coming out of the vent.
I mean, that's that's something you could, but you know, you just gotta, and you know, it'd be noisy going down the main duct, but if it's, the noise coming from the vent, seemed like you could rectify that, or at least adjust it. I don't know.
That's
Have you checked the DBI on that, Mark?
No, I have not. I don't have a DBI meter to check it.
And I think there should be something that we could engineer that would accommodate a problem that we're having in one of the largest offices in this building. So I think we should think about it and maybe talk to Bob about it.
Well, no, that should be Amoresco's problem. That's what we paid them.
Oh, well, so Jerry said he would look at it, and then I think he got busy and tied up on something else.
Well, I know they've looked at it and changed dampers and everything else up there. No,
Could we have a meeting with him?
I can call Jerry before we sign it.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
I do too. I mean,
Took no action.
And I guess, Judge, we kind of want to put out a call, you know, we're fixing to close the book on this, is there anything else laying out there that we don't know about? I assume there's not, but.
I've sent out multiple emails for Punch List.
Okay. And then item number 3, update from Commissioner Reed on law enforcement center project.
pardon me, Judge. Are we going to vote on item 2?
No, we're not gonna do that.
Okay.
Like we're ready, we voted down, I just simply didn't open.
Law Enforcement Center is moving very well. They started the drywall, got one side drywall on a good portion of the sheriff's office side. They'll get the inspection on that and go put the second half of the drywall up. It'll start looking like offices very shortly. I think that's the only real milestone we hit this week was drywall. I think everything else is just continuation of other portions of the project that we've talked about. But if you hadn't been out there lately, it's worth going out there to go see and walk through. It's really changed rapidly.
Mark, when we talk about project overview and update look ahead, it's got some weather days there. Total contract weather days 44. And then it says OCO number 2, OCO number 3. What is those designations?
I mean,
It's right here in the highlighted deal, Bub.
those are change orders that we added those, officially added those into the project, those
Okay.
weather days.
So all we did was recognize with a change order,
Recognize,
10
yes.
weather days, and then later, we recognized 27 weather days.
Correct.
Okay.
We've been pretty fortunate this spring that we haven't had that many weather days, so it's
I
really
need you to
helped.
have a couple of more. I need some water.
Yeah, it's really helped them make hay on that, so,
One thing about weather days at this point is it doesn't stop the work. It'll be raining outside, and those guys are in there drywalling and electrician and plumbing, and
yeah. And we
Kinda in the
line up
dry.
all over the building now, it's,
Yeah.
nothing stops inside.
yeah,
So,
which is, you think when you see the building go up, we're almost done. No, we're just getting started.
Yeah, that last,
Just getting started.
last 10% is longer than the first.
Yes, that ankle biting stuff takes up more time than it does to erect the big walls and stuff, so,
well, it's,
yeah.
you can walk around it now and actually see what the building's gonna look like on the inside. Most of the masonry walls are up.
So I want you to think about something. If we got total contract weather days at 44, and we're in the dry now and work can continue, guys, that's a home run.
Yeah. No.
That's an absolute home run.
It's a month and a half, is what it is.
It's nothing in a project like that, Barry. I mean, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate, other than earlier on this year and late part of last year, we were hitting those weather days right in the middle of the week that was really slowing progress down because they were happening on Tuesdays, Wednesdays.
Yep.
So that blew the whole work week. But they've made hay recently.
Anyone else in the audience have any comments or got something you could share with us?
Jeffrey, did you want to ask any other questions?
Yes, Annette, the question came up talking to Curtis about a line a while ago on the, and I was looking at JP reports this morning. So if Nancy came in to pay a fee to you and she told you it'd be $300 and then you entered the deal, you're preparing to print a receipt and she digs in her purse and realizes she don't have $300, she only has $250. How do you make that adjustment and how do you quantify the adjustment to either the treasurer's office or to the auditor?
Typically, we don't finish the receipt until sheriff finances the money. So the transaction's not gonna go through until I have money in hand.
So you're not going to enter it until you're holding the
Yeah,
money?
we'll put it in there as, I guess, like in the limbo, and then she'll hand me the money and make the receipt. It's like you do at a grocery store. You won't actually finish the transaction until you have money.
On my report, I was showing adjustments, and that's what brought up the question. What would they be? What could they potentially be that show in the adjustment category? Are there times that you would have adjustments and what would that be?
There are corrections as far as when we were having a lot of issues with Odyssey at first, when they say the bond office would put in a transaction, it was coming over on my end. So I would make an adjustment, take it out to balance my reports. It could be as far as something that they overpaid online, and we adjusted them out and credit them back on the credit card.
Okay. And you still have that ability even when it flows through to you to credit back the credit card?
I do.
And how does the customer know that just occurred?
Well, we typically try to catch it that next day. If not, they usually call us and we'll fix it.
Well, I mean, if they didn't catch it and you only caught it where they did pay and they thought they paid the right amount, but you saw it's $20 over,
Right.
how do you inform them that you reapplied to their credit
A
card?
lot of times they have an email address, I'll send them an email.
Okay.
I want to clarify something, and he's got me confused. A person's coming up to pay a fine, am I on board with you? And you say that it's $300, but Nancy looks at her purse and it's only $250. That's where you lose me. Is the fine $300?
No, maybe the fine's $500.
Okay.
Nancy's paying a payment arrangement of sorts.
Okay, and the arrangement is to pay $300 and then $200, okay? So she comes in there, and Annette, she's supposed to give you $300.
And
She only has $250. So when you enter that, does it show that she still owes a balance of $250?
Yes, they will. It'll show.
yes.
Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking because I saw where people paid tickets and there was an adjustment applied to the ticket. I wanted to understand what's occurring with adjustments on my sheet. So I show where a ticket was $300, the guy comes, pays $300, but was given back $50 for whatever reason. And there's no explanation on the report as to why did we issue a credit on this ticket?
Jeff, were these transactions prior to go live or was it after go live?
No, these are April transactions in Odyssey. Yeah.
Is there not a way to put a better description in there just besides adjustment? That if you could add a description that would show exactly what the refund is for, that
There's
would
the
definitely
comment,
help.
there's a comment area, you can comment on there.
See, for example, one of the discretionary items I saw was, I'm looking at a report for precinct, JP Precinct 1-1. And one of the codes was service fees to precinct 1, service fees to precinct 3. No other description. So were they penalty fees that go to Purdue Brandon Field? Were they our $2 transaction fees? What were they? And how do you know, without spending, Curtis, an hour drilling down to find out what that was so you can apply it correctly? How can we be smarter about how we code it?
Or you use your chart of accounts?
I would think so, Lee. I would think there would be a number assigned to that.
Just like we have right now.
Let Curtis know immediately.
And there may be, I don't think there is, but there may be, like I said, Matt is the one that has done all the work on that, so, it seems like though we could help a lot by just changing the descriptions on things to where they're more descriptive.
And that may be, and they may be plenty descriptive, and the code may tell you everything you want to know. It may be my ignorance is that the problem, but like precinct 3 paying in precinct 1, how does precinct 3's balance or credit balance show up on the collection report knowing that precinct 1 took the money on their behalf? How does that transfer adjust itself, I guess? Because I print a collection report where Billy owes precinct 3 $100. Well, do I catch it when I print the collection report for precinct 1 that shows Billy Smith paid $100 and he actually is a precinct 3? I don't know. And those were questions I had when I reviewed the report.
They've got the precinct 4 clerk who's supposed to be. So she went and collect, and often what we have is people get a ticket in one of the outlying precincts that want to come to the precinct. I believe they can directly credit that to that precinct.
And it could be that the line it's carrying could indicate that, Curtis, and you would spot that right off where I'm not as familiar with your.
Commissioner Beecher, anything?
No, sir.
Commissioner Harvey?
A couple of questions on this change order deal for the jail
Yeah.
that are pending. We've got it says final finish selections pending. Is that some upgrades that we're making? It's $50,000.
Pull document out.
Thanks, Annette.
You're welcome, sir.
Pardon me, that one's $60,000. Then another, amendment 4 says a drawing set is $50,000.
They got the little microscopic tiny one, I can't read it.
Do you need this one?
Oh, here it is.
Is that the architect's fees?
Well, I'm not sure. It's a change order tracking log. So this is additional funds that we are looking at. The ones that say approved don't have really,
I'm not sure on the final finish. It doesn't have a date submitted to it. I will ask that question.
what's the $50,000 for the drawing set?
I don't remember discussing that one.
I don't.
Sounds like a blueprint deal or
Did you change the blueprint?
It just says
No,
drawing set.
I'll have to go back.
See it on there?
Those that are pending that don't have a date behind them, we don't have formal action going on them right now, so I'm not up to speed on what they may be, other than the roof ladder, and I've told them no on that particular one.
is that the one that we looked at the picture at the other day? Mark?
What's that?
That roof ladder, is that the one that we looked at? The
Yeah,
picture?
the first thing that they come back to me on that one was not good, so
Yeah,
that's why it's still pending.
if I can get out of there, that's probably.
Oh, no, that's a different one.
Oh, that's a different one.
Yeah, no, roof ladder, it was just an access ladder, and what they had proposed was not a good solution.
Other than that,
No,
we are cleaning ditches and the roads that we milled up. We're dressing those up, getting them ready to chip seal. We've got several spots in our precinct that we have excavated the entire road for 20 or 30 feet because it's just mush. I mean, you couldn't get it hard. And we've put hardener in it and crusher run and hardener and crusher run and got them packed up. And so we have several sections around that are aggravating people. Every time it rains, they kind of get a little softer and rutted up. We have to go back out there and dress it up. And as soon as we get some decent weather, we get our chip sealing teams put together, we'll address all of those spots. But you know, you have to have a certain temperature before you can lay that oil down. So not only the ground temperature, but the overnight temperature. It's got to be, I believe, above 50 degrees. And the ground temperature. Yeah, consistently. So we are really getting prepared to get hot and heavy on chip sealing as soon as the weather lets us. And our plan come January is to get our machine back from Gloucester and get about 10 miles.
And you know, on that note, Lee, very note, I have had quite a few call about driving on what they consider glorified dirt road now.
Gravel road.
And of course, I was first rattle out of the box, and they're gonna drive on mine a little bit longer.
Yeah, but that's kind of an area that's got some really nice homes in it, some really nice cars going in and out of it.
Well, but on Peterson, you know, on Peterson, where Gary Waters grew up, one of the places that they lived right down there, the guy calls and tells me that, you know, he don't appreciate driving on dirt road because he paid over $3,000 more in taxes last year. And I'm like, well, sir, there's nothing I can do about that. We've got to take our turns. I happen to be first and going to be a little bit longer, but as soon as we are up and rolling with chip seal, you'll be very proud of that. It's already so much better than it was as a blacktop road.
And you know, honestly, if not being self-centered about my precinct, that's probably the first road we need to chip seal because of I mean, those homes are nice and they're driving. We should put that first. Some of my roads only have one house on them, you know. So
You can go down there and do it in a half a day. That's-
Sure, I
Sure.
mean, I don't have that much to cover.
So I think we ought to probably prioritize like that and get that road done first. I mean, that's the way I think. I hope the other commissioners would agree with that.
Well, it shows respect and it shows appreciation, the fact that we are paying attention. I mean, it just does, it's
And the road is hard and stiff. Now, of course, when it's dry like now, you'll get some dust, but it doesn't leave tracks when you drive on it and
You
it's
have a
wet.
bit of mud on your wheels.
And if you go wet it down for them to hold the dust down, then they get mud all over the cars.
There was one guy told me he had to wash his car already that last month 3 times. I'm like,
I know. I get it.
I agree with Lee, though, I think that we ought to.
Now, that's a good idea.
Get that cleaned up,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
well, I guess that's the advantage of going first and driving on dirt longer is you can be first on the next deal. But mine, like I say, their guys are depending on Jerry pretty much to keep them, telling them what to do and get them rolling when it's time to roll, because my guys are not in tune to the.
Well, you
The
know,
sink,
we got
you
a
know.
crew. This guy here, he's really good on the distributor. This guy's here is
Yeah.
really good on the rock box. And
Yeah.
they're gonna be on it the whole
Yeah, see, my
county-wide.
guys don't know any of those.
Well, they
that
don't
are-
need to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not,
No,
It's fine.
no, they're hands, they're all hands, they
Absolutely.
just don't know the process.
absolutely. That's all I got, just a lot of road work.
Mr. Muller.
Just pretty much to carry on the discussion, looking back at the process now, I think our zip-in procedure was very successful. I think we can manage it better and do better now that we know more about what we're dealing with, and I think we ought to begin to make a plan for next year and get some dates on the calendar and say, you know, I'm gonna have X number of miles, you're gonna have X number of miles. And I think if we'll do that, we can manage that thing very, very well if we've got a plan. put a good rotation together where we're not moving long distances, and I just think it'll be successful for us. I'm really, really excited about it.
Now, do you think, Barry, that you can go in there prior to, let's say we're gonna move on it tomorrow, can I go in there this afternoon or in the morning and lay those millings down in front of that machine and mill them into that existing
Well, you sure
crush?
can,
Or-
but you're gonna have to be careful about getting them strung out too soon because you got traffic. And, I think the key deal would be if you're gonna start milling the road in the morning, well, you got
Put
a
it
couple
right in
loads-
front of
You got
the-
a couple loads sitting there and you lay that
Windrow
windrow out. That's the
right
great thing
there.
about those belly dumps, you can lay that windrow out in front of it and just level
right
it.
in front of it, yeah.
Yeah, that thing will level it and mix it in, but I don't think you can get too far in advance because it's gonna be a very, boy, you put a windrow out on the road, you can't hardly cone it. I mean,
Right,
and you
sure.
don't want somebody hitting it, so.
But that would work.
It's your question, you
Okay.
bet. I think
Okay.
that's what we need to be doing. And, I think it'd just be a tremendous opportunity to help build space, and you need it desperately in lots of places.
Yeah.
So if we get some milling stocked up, and get them in the right place where they'll be easy to get to, that'll help too. Get them close to the site,
And we will make a second request in June
yeah.
for
That's
this.
something we ought to plan on, but I think that program can work. I think we can do it much more efficiently than we did this year. We were learning and get that thing on hand, get it done, and get it out
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Well,
We're
one
more
thing, guys,
comfortable with it.
go, pick your roads that you're gonna do,
Yeah,
and clean them ditches out, roll that stuff out of there, get it all done, get it ready.
where you can run it.
Where whenever you get ready, you got 10 miles that are absolutely ready to work on.
That's right.
Not trying to work on it in front of, I got a mile here, let me go stop and get them out. Just get every mile that you wanna do done.
I tell you, when we put that team together,
It worked well.
out there and did it, it worked very well. We had guys, we got a bunch done there in about
Yes,
10
we did.
days. And I think that's the way to do it, and just jump on it and get it done. And once again,
You kinda come together like you do on chip sealing,
I
and
think
work
we could
together.
theoretically come together, and I think we could have most of our milling done in
Yeah.
a week's time.
I think so too.
In
As
2
long
weeks
as the
at
weather
most.
participates or
Yeah.
cooperates.
2
And
weeks at the most.
do
I
you,
did 8.5 miles, took me, well, we had it 15 days.
did,
But we had weekends, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
did y'all, did anybody mention to you about the cab not sliding, right at the end?
No,
Did you know, Mark? Well, Leon had told me that, hey, issue may get them down. Jack had already called me and said, Jeff, when we came from 3 to 1, it wouldn't go back over. Well, then John, JB said, let's wait on John. He'd rather him move it anyway. And so he goes out there. I've done set up for Jeremy to come that morning. John gets out there to load, and it's the camera rail. He said that thing's set up for like those GoPros to go out on those
Yeah.
rails. That camera rail had gotten into the track and was
Yeah,
preventing
sure.
and so John was able to put it back in place and tighten it down, and I was able to stop Jeremy from coming, but it was that simple is all it was.
I figured it was an electrical servo or something. That's where you get into a bunch of that. But anyway, my point is, Lee, if we have to go run that thing 10, 12 hours a day.
Well, that's what we did, we worked 12 hours a day, what we had.
Yeah.
Go run it but once
I
again, being
agree.
ready and being prepared, I think we can make that very affordable if
Yeah.
we manage it correctly.
I agree.
And I think it'll move us on down the road. My plan is, I'm gonna try to get a CAT guy up here to do the safety training on that excavator. And we need to get our kind of designated guys gathered up. I'm sure it'll be later this week, but I ain't got him lined up yet.
Now, do
They're
you,
not full speed ahead on the virus deal.
do
yet.
you not think that it's better to, we have done that. We've
Yeah.
had the safety training with the CAT guy on the
Yeah.
excavator with
Yeah.
my guys. But they still didn't get to have, because I had 4 guys there,
There you
didn't
go.
have any time.
Yeah.
Would it be better to do that individually around where we can get,
What we probably need to do is have him per day and divide it up into segments.
Yeah.
And have the different
yeah,
teams.
I
spend
think
an
that
hour
gives them
doing it.
more, they actually can get
Yeah.
in there and work
We
it
need to get them
some.
in there and run it.
Yeah.
That's what Mark's guys did the other day, it's what my guys did,
Yeah.
and that's the key. You don't need to be on that machine on the job till you get in there out where you can't hit anything.
Right, I agree.
And run it in an hour, just
Yeah.
wonderful. Just, you'll know a whole lot more about it.
Let's follow up and have UTA come down this fall and do a second class.
Yeah, that's good.
The
And
problem
that
with
UTA deal is free.
Yeah,
That's free.
and it's worth everything you pay for it. I've been to the motor grader deal, and I'm not ragging on it.
Oh, it's not real good?
Well.
Now, and I tell you the second, I tell you.
Sometimes it's not where we need to go, I guess is.
Well, I have a fella in my precinct, lives on Bell Road, John Villegas, that runs the one for the city.
Yeah,
And, you know, before we bought this one, he was giving me some pointers and he showed me the numbers on theirs and different deals. But they would probably allow somebody like that to come do follow-up with us and give us more one-on-one time if
the
we
big
need.
deal is knowing what not to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the key.
And seat time.
Yeah.
You gotta have some seat time.
I ran it a couple, 3 hours there the other day, and I run the thing now. I couldn't when I first got in it, but I can now, and that's what it's all about. And, we did get the controls changed over to the backhoe mode, which helped a bunch. But then I had to unlearn what I'd done for about an hour. And my son did it for us and showed me how to do it, and he told me, he said, go home, come back tomorrow, and you'll be, and that's exactly right, because I'd sit there and try to learn for an hour the backward way, and now it's back to back, and even your guys, Mark, said, oh, yeah, we can do this, this is a backhoe configuration now, so anyway, we just need to get it right, we need to be safe, that's the key, and we will, and it's gonna be a great machine. We're putting some culverts in, we need to do a bunch of that, and we're gonna get started. We've got a couple we're gonna do this week, so guys are continuing to work. But I'm just really proud of our road crews, the work they've gotten done over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think is awesome.
Absolutely.
And, said they never missed a beat, and,
Nope.
just kept plugging along, so. Yeah, as soon as we get this chip seal, we just all need to get our heads together, get a schedule put together. A lot of times it's good, I think, if you run a few days and maybe have a day to clean up and regroup and then run, and just try to figure out how to do it, because we're gonna be ready, pretty quick. It won't take long our base is in pretty good shape. We got a little patching to do, we'll be ready to roll. So more fair we can get that knocked out, I think the better it's gonna be for everybody. So, guys, one of the most encouraging things that I saw over the weekend is the traffic on 287. It's back. Trucks are rolling, cars are moving. Well, we're ready to get back going, and hopefully we won't have a big setback, Judge, to where we'll get, but it just makes you feel good to see little cars taking place.
Yeah.
We need to get going.
Are we still at 75?
So that's, maybe if we can, it just, what makes you feel good seeing those trucks run down the road, when you see that, something's going on, and that's good. We gotta get rolling. Good stuff. Well, we got a little problem in our ag deal that popped up. We haven't been thinking about it for the last couple of weeks. So many of these custom harvesters have got guys coming from South Africa, they can't get here. We got folks ain't not gonna come, they don't have any help. And,
Man, all those guys that stayed at my shop, I got that big yard there in Judge and Burke, and they bring their big, it's an 18-wheeler travel trailer.
Yeah.
It's got like 10 bunks in it or whatever.
Yeah.
They park that there, they go up to the water, and they pay me a little rent, but every one of those guys are from South Africa.
yeah.
Every one of them.
Very fascinating to talk to.
They are, they're really
They
good.
are. And,
It's really cool.
They can't come, because we got the borders locked down, you can't get the permits in place to do it, and it's really got, I think the guy's been cutting for me not coming. He just had me any help. I said, bring a machine in the truck. We'll find somebody driving grain cars.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
Commissioner Harvey will drive the grain car.
Just another economic, there's hundreds of them out there, people that are having special problems trying to get something done. That's gonna be one of them, it looks like, so. Anyway, other than that.
And Barry, your boy said anything about the plants as far as what we've got around coming up? I mean, are we back online with processing plants around the country?
Yeah, they're gradually coming back. What people don't understand, I read a bunch of stuff over the weekend on the internet saying, well, You know, no, those guys wanna be running, they're making big money right now, and they just don't have any help. And somebody said, well, why is that any different? Well, because they stand shoulder to shoulder in a damp environment all day. And I mean, it is just absolutely the worst case scenario, because they're sitting there on that line and processing that stuff as it comes by. It's worse in a hospital, it's worse in a nursing home, it is absolutely about as bad as you get because of close proximity of people. And they are scrambling to get back online, but most, I think JBS plants are all running. They're running a slower change speed, but they're running.
But our hogs is not what,
Hogs is where the big problem is.
It's gonna be a big-
because
pork is gonna be
I think
huge.
Tyson had a couple of plants completely shut down. And
Yes.
you cannot get enough people back to start up again, and it takes X number of people to make that happen. We're talking about 1,500, 2,000 people a shift
yes.
that are in there, I mean, side by side. You can see why it's a problem, and I don't know how you avoid it. If you operate, you really can't avoid it, so,
Well,
anyway, maybe we'll
you take all the same precautions that you take whenever influenza's in high.
do the best you
Do
can.
the best you can and eat right and wash your hands. I mean, just common sense.
You know, the one good thing that's gonna come from this though, and there's some good gonna come from it. Just personally, I've become a lot more, I keep that hand sanitizer in my vehicle. I get through fueling up. I never did that before, and now I do. And I think we're developing habits that will make us better down the road, all of us, and I think that's a good thing, so. you know.
Something positive has got to come out of this.
Out of it, yeah. So,
Commissioner White, you mentioned something already, you said second request for something in June, was that to bring
Millage.
back that zipper or?
No, for more millings.
Yeah,
We
more
can go
millings,
back for a
okay.
reallocation under the rider program. Judge, and David Brookings telling me that to keep that June time in mind, because a lot of commissioners' courts will not have utilized their allocation, and they'll give them back to the pot.
So I've been eyeballing that big old pile of millions.
we would take that whole pile.
And David Roman
Well,
said,
there's another one expiring on them out at, going to Seymour,
Yeah.
and that they can't get, there's 2-year, it's set there, and they just can't get enough pulled, and
Yeah.
I've told
This
them
is
twice that we
fresh.
would move in.
this is fresh millions come off I-44, and
Yeah.
it is a mountain. And I was eyeballing that with Romer, and he said, Lee, that ain't all yours. It's not all Wichita counties. We got 13 or something other counties that we gotta help
Let
out.
us have it, we doggone sure use it, we got places to go with it.
No, I agree, and we're
It
good
was built in
about it.
Wichita County, it belongs in Wichita
It sure
County.
You know, the great thing about that pile is that the machine that milled that did an excellent job. That-
It did.
It's processed.
It's not big chunks, it's good stuff.
It's the good stuff. I've walked up on that pile, looked at it, it's the good stuff.
Governor's having a conference call this afternoon, I think I sent you all the stuff if you want to listen in on that.
Any expectations, Judge, or?
I don't know, maybe he's gonna turn Boyd County back over to us, I don't know.
He's already calling him King Abbott.
Friday, we will have a bills review, and something y'all think about, you probably ought to do, is have some road and bridge work sessions. Go ahead and get those on the agenda so you can sit down, especially when we look at these, taking on this other stuff under the new road grant stuff, that there's a regular meeting. I got tickled the other day when you had that oil leak on that piece of equipment. You worked out something, but Jeff was the one that actually made it. So it's getting that information back and forth. You took care of the problem, but the guy responsible for the thing wasn't aware of that. And it's just,
Yeah.
no communication thing. But if you schedule some regular, Friday as part of the Friday deal, then that would be fine. Do something like that.
You put it on as
It'd be part of the work session, or you could do it in the latter part of Friday afternoon or Thursday afternoon. But set up.
I wanna have that meeting at about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon.
You can't use the Wichita Brewery as a meeting.
You can't? Dang it. I was thinking P2 all the way, baby.
Yeah.
And Judge, along those lines, if we're gonna work toward this C-turf deal, let's start getting some initial, and I know you're not firmed up on some of that stuff, but just an initial list, a rough list to start with.
I have mine to give you.
I've kinda got mine too.
You've got to have a pretty good list to get that in so we can work off of that.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think I would ask, as Curtis was kind of saying, we talked about with Bob about, okay, we're gonna concentrate in this geographical area, whether that got precinct 2 and 3 roads or whatever, but look at that so we're not moving that equipment and that kind of thing. That's gonna take coordination.
Well, and once we get the initial list, we can pair them
Yeah,
geographically, because
Yeah,
I may have one that's right next door to Mark's, and I may have one that's right next door to Lee's, and rather than do both of mine at the same time, we need to do them in conjunction with
yeah.
another precinct.
And I don't know is when you list those, you have to have all your roads, but I don't think if you have them 1, 2, 3 through 20, I don't think they're gonna expect you to work them that way, but you need to account for them.
Well, he said in our conversation the other day, he said, you may open up number 1, you may start on number 4, and then a week later you come back, and that's really how it's
Well,
gonna go.
I think as long as you're working them simultaneous, I mean,
Yeah.
if we're going doing the prep and everything,
And that's it, every one of them will have prep.
you're starting them all at the same time.
We'll turn that, in fact, that's the first thing we need to do is turn our prep time in and get that on the list, because that's part of our match, the ditch pulling and, the scraping of the edges and all that. So,
That's all part of it.
Any culverts you gotta replace.
so they're already active
Yeah.
when you start that. That's probably where we need to start, is get our active stuff on there and then follow with the chip seal.
Barry, the culverts that you bought, are those rubber ones?
Oh, absolutely.
Man,
Wouldn't use anything else.
here's the only negative thing that I've heard from David Romer is they had one but it was a 60-inch, and they had a fire, and it had a lot of fuel down the road, and it was just like blasting right there, and it melted on them.
Really?
In that scenario, you're gonna run it.
He said, Lee, that'll probably never happen again.
Yeah.
But it was a large pipe, and the wind was just roaring. It had a lot of fuel, and it melted the pipe.
Of course, the way, other than having raw fuel run through it, the way to avoid that is put the concrete ends on it.
Yeah.
That's,
No, it burnt. It was like, fire was shooting through it, and it melted the
Wow.
inside.
that's why I know, but still, if you've got the grass cleaned up around it, you wouldn't have that scenario.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he said. He probably one time in forever.
That's not reason enough to go away from.
No, that's what we bought, and I'm putting them in personally right now. I'm putting in a 30-inch,
Oh, they're so
40 foot long.
On that note, can we do the permit, part of that, go ahead and do a work
Do the
session
culvert,
through the
yeah,
permit
yeah.
deal?
Do the text
Because I'd like us to, have that culvert scenario nailed down as part of this process.
Moving forward.
I think
we
so.
need to do every one of them.
And Judge, I have Neo here to show us some pictures.
Oh, okay, all right.
Your turn, Neo.
Okay.
Well, just real quick.
Well, one quick thing for budget work sessions, we're gonna start those, we'll have those.
Thanks, sir.
We'll do that.
How are we gonna do that, Judge? Are we gonna do every department or?
I want us to go through what's been submitted,
Okay.
then we will tell people who's, but I think,
We should look
they
at numbers,
understand,
basically.
there's not gonna be any new money that come out to you.
You want those on Fridays?
We might need to look at the, a little more often than just Friday. To get us through and then send it to the departments and see if they wanna come back, but I
Thank you.
Okay, so real quick, County Line Road Project. As you can look at the first presentation, it's for the May. That's kind of where we are right now. We're wrapping up the project. For the last 2 weeks, it was just hauling dirt from 2 properties in Electra, one from the County Line Road and the other one at Old Lake Road. If you look at for the April and March, you can see where we started. It was, we call it a canyon. It was 14 feet deep, 20 feet wide. It was a massive hole. Lee Road was closed. because of this. And then just through the process, the guys were just working really hard. Also, there was a bridge, concrete bridge that had been washed off. I mean, half of it was gone, and they had our contractor, John Jones, to kind of take care of it. And we're almost done. I mean, we're really wrapping up the project, and it's gonna be ready to go.
So I have stood, prior to this project starting, I have stood on that bridge that they're talking about. It is unbelievable. Okay, all that land out there is pure sand.
Yeah.
And when it gets wet, what's it do? It just goes nuts. That was a huge project. I mean, the bar ditch right there, the bar ditch was 10 feet deep.
Yep.
The bar ditch, not the where the little creek was. It was horrible. And I'd like to go out there now and look at it, because I haven't seen it since you started. But I know what it looked like
Yeah,
before you started.
you need to, Barry went and
I was
looked at
there
it,
last week.
and they have done, Jack Lucor, one heck of an operator. John Jones, I can't say enough good about him and how efficient, and they waste zero time. They are whooping and spurring the whole time, and I see this, Neil has the pictures of the little bridge that you're talking about, Lee, which was put in by WPA,
I
the
saw
work
that too.
project in World War II. And so this was a heartbreaker to me, because it had held up for the most part. Just think about that, for all of that time. And of course, the sand and the gophers and the things that undermined that little cement ditch that carried it to Adams Creek, it just couldn't, once it broke, it wasn't fixable again. But it's just unreal, the waterway they've made and the clean. They used Joe Sofall to help them plan, and they all three had their heads together on that, and it just made for and James Brock Reed has been a tremendous help to us and furnished us a lot of material there in close proximity, so that's helped a whole lot, and it's worked out well. I was scared that it would take way more time than what it's taken, but they've moved quick. You let us use your bulldozer for quite some time. That really helped.
So just so people know who Joe Sofall is, he is an engineer for NRCS.
He's retired in our cities.
Well, yes, but he's still working. We call him all the time.
Well, he works for the district now.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Well,
He works for numerous districts on a per diem.
Consultant type.
he is absolutely a waterway expert, absolutely an expert. He has helped so much controlling the water and for the erosion of the land. And having Joe Sofall involved in this project, Tofall, it just tells me that it's done right. Because he would tell you, you can't do that, you got to do this. I mean, just that's how Joe is. And that's really good that you pulled for that resource and that you included him in that.
Every year during budget, we make donations to nonprofits in this county that help people out. And one of them we support is our local stormwater conservation district. And he works for that local stormwater conservation district. We have probably gleaned, we may have gleaned $50,000 worth of engineering work out of that donation over the last 2 years, because he did some of that work on our other project out there. That's a resource that's available to us when we need it. So I know that's one of the things I looked at when I came on this court. Well, it's not mandated that we support any of these agencies. It's not, but we do. And I have a hard time justifying that until you really get out and work with them and you see what they do in the community and what that brings to the table. And so that's just one example.
CASA is another one.
That's right, it's that very same thing. That's one of the things we do, and that's why we do it. And sometimes I don't think we talk about that, but that's what that's about. That's not just, oh, these are good old boys, we're gonna pat them on the back, give them, no, that's not what it is. And it's important.
Back to the days of Mike Isabel, we got an awful lot of, stuff.
There is engineering expertise there, and the thing of it is, past that resource, I don't know where you go to find that
You know,
expertise.
a lot is lost
Well, there are a lot of
out there.
great engineers around, I understand that, but that's not their area of expertise.
Right.
But you know, we've run into, this project's been interesting because, well, just look at the culverts. There was an accommodation made to try to alleviate more of the Wilbarger water coming on to us as it came across the country down to that intersection of Lee Road and County Line. And there were, those culverts are so old, they have steel bands riveted in them, you know, so it gives you an age factor of what they were. But also, we were able to look up, Jack and John identified water coming down 380? FM 380 from Bug Scuffle, and instead of making its way down state right-of-way to Adams Creek, it was turning and coming down County Line Road to that problem intersection,
And once it
compounding the
starts-
number.
Once it starts,
Yeah,
it's
so
more prevalent.
we went in there and lowered some culverts, directed the water better in part of that project as well. So now we're gonna have some alleviation of not so big of an impact. And we're able to handle more water than ever
Well,
before.
That's the problem. In order to stop the erosion in sand, that water needs to be slowed down. Needs to be backed up. It needs to be moving slow.
You gotta have root structure.
You gotta have, Barry and I went to a class, it's called a riparian structure.
Mark went,
Did you go to one?
Yeah, I went to it.
and Jeff did.
So that's, you know, if you wanna hold that soil,
Oh, yeah, but
You
Lee,
gotta get out there.
you look at that, what that cut in that sand, those roots were every bit of 8 foot deep. Bermuda grass roots 8 foot deep in that. It was the impact of tremendous water, and it created a downstream scenario that began to erode, that eat its way all the way back. And even though you had a tremendous base of vegetation with strong root structure in that sand, it still undermined that sand tremendously, that
I
backlash.
saw what it done.
But I think that
Under
maybe,
the roots and.
I think that maybe with alleviating some of the water that won't come through there near as heavy because of utilizing the easement on 380, now we'll be able to slow down some
Jeff,
of that.
you're gonna handle it across an area like this rather than like this.
That's right.
That's all the difference. That's what
All
slows
the
the
difference.
flow.
That's
Yes,
right.
yeah. And Judge, not prolong this anymore, but it is a good discussion.
Yes, sir.
But I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick note. One of the things that I was really excited in working on and have done a little preliminary work on was that there is really nobody in the state of Texas, Lee, you've run into this, well, all of us have run into it over there. There is no one in the state of Texas that concentrates on just normal day-to-day drainage out in the county.
Right.
There's not an agency that's involved in that. There were provisions in the constitutional changes that we voted on a year ago that gives the Texas Water Development Board some drainage authority and some funding available. And we desperately, just like all
Oh,
the stuff
my
you've done,
heavens,
Jeff.
absolutely.
And one of the things that I'd already done some preliminary work on and got some people excited about was trying to go to that agency and have them develop that aspect of that board. Now, with the way things are right now, that may not be as fruitful as I had thought it might be, but we've already had some discussions on the state level. There are drainage problems across this county that need to be addressed.
There-
We don't have the expertise, the budget, nor the authority to
Absolutely.
go do it.
And one of those drainage issues could be Gilbert Creek.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, and Barry, like you've always said, I didn't realize, and you've been the builder of waterways since waterways became the thing to build, and you understand that it lives its life.
That's right.
And then it reaches,
Life cycle.
and so does every drain.
It's not-
Something
not hard.
impacts it, something changes it. A beaver family comes along on Lee, on Gilbert Creek,
yes.
and changes the world.
Yes.
And that redesigns how that water flows, and you have to do your homework and maintenance, because in time it's going to. Just look at the ground gave up all those old oil field bases that caused a dam on Buffalo Lake that you couldn't have saw. We flew it, Barry flew it, and Glenn Barham flew it for me, and we couldn't find them. But, you know, once you move the vegetation, you can find them,
Well,
It just,
we were involved, and we're gonna still be involved, and we're gonna try to push that agenda, and our state stormwater conservation board is gonna be very active in that deal. We need them to take on that part of their authority.
with the role and responsibility
They
of
do
the
have
policies and
authority, They
guidelines.
do have funding, and we need them to adopt that and accept it, and we need they probably need to add somebody to that board that has that expertise. But, you know, once again, it's kind of iffy now because our state finance deal may not be what we thought it was, but still, we need to get it set up, we need to get started, because there is no one out there, and I tell people all the time, you know, said, we gotta work on this drainage. We don't have the authority
Sure.
to
that's
go
right.
on to private property.
And that's just the very thing. Yesterday, spoke to my father-in-law about this. The next drainage project, and ours has been great, and it has alleviated and it's flown. David Parkey has not flooded one single time this time. When we had all the rain this last time, it normally would puddle and make playa lakes or different type of lakes that would stand and wait to trickle through. That hasn't occurred. But one thing that is, and that I've learned, and it wasn't super difficult, but I've learned it, is that before I begin a project, I'll have all of those landowners sign off on the fact they want to participate, because it's hard to find the guy in the middle that don't want to remove the mesquite trees or the blockage because he likes whatever reason it's there. And unless everybody's cooperating, it just doesn't work well.
But if the Texas Water Development Board would go ahead and assume that authority that they've been granted and work it could be a big, big help to counties all across state Texas. So anyway, that's coming, we're gonna be working on it. See if we
Funding's
can-
gonna be a tough thing.
What's that?
Funding.
Absolutely.
The severance tax, the way it is.
But if we could just get the authority set up
Yeah.
and get that department open, then we can worry about funding it later down the road. But we need them to assume the authority to do that, so that we got somebody to call and say, we need some help getting some right-of-way clearance and get something done. Anyway, just something to think about as we
Okay.
get that way.
Anything else? Okay. It's 11:28.